Black woman overcomes discrimination in the workplace. Her comeback will inspire you. The office was unusually quiet that morning, but Olivia knew better. The silence wasn't peace, it was tension. The kind of tension that weighed on her every day since she started this job. She adjusted her blazer, inhaled deeply, and walked toward her desk, her heels clicking against the polished floor. A few heads turned. Some whispered. Others simply ignored her. That was fine. She wasn't here to make friends. She was here to prove them wrong. For months, she had been giving her best, submitting reports that were more detailed than anyone else's, presenting ideas that could revolutionize the company's strategies. Yet, no matter what she did, it was overlooked. Her white colleagues got praised for mediocrity, while her excellence was treated as if it didn't exist. But today was different. Today, she had a presentation directly in front of the board. She had worked through the night, refining every slide, every statistic, ensuring there wasn't a single flaw. If they ignored her this time, it wouldn't be because of her work. It would be because of their bias. As she reached the conference room, she saw them already gathered. Charles, her manager, sat at the head of the table. His sharp blue eyes met hers, and something about his smirk made her stomach tighten. He leaned back, arms crossed, as she set up her laptop. "We've decided to let Brian present today," he said casually. A flicker of disbelief crossed her face. Brian? The same Brian who had borrowed her notes. The same Brian who had asked her to explain the numbers just yesterday? She forced herself to stay composed. "But this is my project." Charles shrugged. "Brian will be leading today." A few people looked at her, gauging her reaction. She could see the satisfaction in some of their eyes. They wanted her to snap, to show emotion, to give them a reason to call her difficult. But Olivia wouldn't give them that satisfaction. She simply nodded. Understood. Brian began his presentation, her presentation. He stumbled over the figures, mispronounced the industry terms she had mastered, and when the board asked him for clarifications, he stuttered. Olivia sat silently, her fingers pressing into her palms. Every instinct in her told her to stand up, to take over, to make them see who the real talent was. But she waited. Then, the CEO turned to her. "Olivia, you were part of this project, correct?" She nodded. "Yes. Could you clarify this point here?" This was her moment. She leaned forward, calmly explaining the data with such confidence that the room shifted. Eyes widened. They weren't just hearing her. They were seeing her for the first time. By the end, the CEO nodded approvingly. "Impressive. Next time, let's have Olivia present from the start." Charles's jaw tightened. Brian wouldn't meet her gaze. That should have been the moment things changed, but they didn't. Instead, they got worse. Her emails started going unanswered. Meetings were scheduled without informing her. Her work was suddenly not aligned with company goals, even though she had been leading initiatives for months. One evening, she overheard two colleagues laughing by the coffee machine. "She's wasting her time," one said. "She'll never get anywhere here." She walked past them, pretending she hadn't heard. But she had, and every word fueled her. She started keeping records. Every email, every interaction, every project she was sidelined from. She built her case quietly, methodically. If they thought she would crumble, they underestimated her. Then came the final blow. A promotion opened up, one she had been working toward for 2 years. She met every qualification, exceeded expectations, had the backing of industry leaders. But they gave it to Brian. She felt the blood rush to her ears when she saw the announcement. She had anticipated it, but the sting was still there. She walked into Charles's office, her heart pounding, but her voice steady. "I'd like to know why I wasn't considered." Charles leaned back, feigning sympathy. "You're great, Olivia, but Brian has better leadership skills." She almost laughed. Leadership skills? He couldn't even present his own work without stumbling. Charles's expression darkened. "Be careful, Olivia. You don't want to seem ungrateful." That was it. That was the moment. She realized she had nothing left to prove here. She took a deep breath. "I appreciate your time." And she walked out. The next morning, she handed in her resignation. She didn't have another job lined up. She didn't need one. What she had was a plan. She started consulting independently, using her expertise to help businesses grow. At first, it was small, one client, then two. But word spread. She wasn't just good, she was exceptional. 6 months later, her name was being mentioned in top industry circles. Companies that had ignored her were now seeking her advice. Then, one day, an unexpected email landed in her inbox. Olivia, we'd love to have you speak at our leadership summit. Please let us know your availability. The sender? The company she had walked away from. She stared at the screen, a slow smile forming. She replied with a single line. I'll check my schedule. Olivia didn't respond immediately. She let the email sit in her inbox for a day, then two, savoring the irony of it all. The same company that had cast her aside was now reaching out, hoping she would lend them her voice, her expertise, the very things they had once ignored. She wasn't surprised. She had always known her worth, even when they had tried to diminish it. But now they knew it too. That evening, she sat on her balcony, sipping a glass of wine, the city lights stretching before her. The air was warm, humming with possibility. Her phone buzzed, a message from a client, another from a journalist requesting an interview. It was happening. Everything she had envisioned. Every late night spent strategizing, every moment of self-doubt she had pushed through. It was all leading to this. She had built something of her own, something no one could take away from her. And yet, the email still lingered in her mind. A week later, she finally responded. I'll check my schedule, she had written, and that had been enough. It took less than an hour for the follow-up to come. We would love to accommodate any time that works for you. Please let us know your preferred dates. They were desperate. She could feel it through the screen. She imagined Charles sitting in his office, perhaps a little grayer, a little more stressed, realizing the mistake he had made. She wondered if Brian was still there, still struggling, still benefiting from the privileges that had once held her back. A small part of her wanted to ignore them completely. But another part, perhaps the stronger part, knew she had to go back. Not for them. For herself. So she agreed. The day of the summit arrived, and Olivia stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her blazer. This time, when she walked into that building, it would be on her terms. No whispered conversations behind her back, no forced smiles from people who underestimated her. This time, she was the one in power. As she stepped into the event hall, heads turned. Some faces she recognized, former colleagues who had once overlooked her, executives who had dismissed her ideas. They all looked at her differently now. There was a certain respect in their eyes, a recognition that they could no longer ignore her. A woman approached her, one of the board members she had presented to all those months ago. Olivia, it's so good to see you. We've been following your success. It's truly inspiring. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Thank you. They led her to the stage, where her name was displayed in bold letters. Keynote speaker, Olivia Bennett, CEO and industry leader. The irony was almost laughable. She stepped up, microphone in hand, scanning the room. She spotted Charles near the back, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Brian sat beside him, looking down at his phone. She began. When I started in this industry, I was told to work hard, to prove myself, to be excellent. And I did. But what I learned along the way is that excellence alone isn't always enough when people refuse to see it. I was overlooked, underestimated, and passed over for opportunities one had more than earned. But instead of letting that break me, I let it fuel me. I built something of my own. And now I stand before you not because I was given a chance, but because I took it. The room was silent. I share this not out of bitterness, but as a reminder. The people you ignore today may be the ones you answer to tomorrow. She let the words settle before continuing, shifting into the main topic of her speech. She spoke with authority, with confidence, with the kind of presence that demanded attention. She was no longer the woman sitting quietly in meetings, waiting for her turn to be heard. She was the voice that people leaned in to listen to. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. Some stood, others hesitated before following, but in the end, they all clapped. Even Charles, even Brian, Afterward, people lined up to shake her hand, to congratulate her, to tell her how inspired they were. The same people who had once dismissed her were now eager to be associated with her success. Charles approached last. "You were incredible up there," he said, his voice measured. "We should have seen it sooner." She tilted her head. "Yes, you should have." There was no malice in her tone, just truth. He sighed. "We'd love to talk about having you consult with us. There's a lot we could learn from you." She smiled, but this time it reached her eyes. "I'll check my schedule." Then she turned and walked away. Olivia walked away from Charles with a quiet satisfaction humming in her chest. There was a time when she had wanted this moment more than anything, to see the regret in their eyes, to hear them acknowledge their mistake. But now that it was here, it felt insignificant. She had already won. She had won the moment she stepped out of their shadow and built something of her own. Their recognition was nothing more than a delayed echo, a whisper in the wind. She moved through the room with a kind of grace that came from knowing she no longer needed anyone's approval. People continued to approach her, some old colleagues, others new faces who had read about her success. Some of them wanted to connect, to collaborate, to be in her orbit, now that she was someone they couldn't ignore. She smiled, exchanged pleasantries, and nodded at their words, but deep down, she knew the difference between genuine admiration and opportunism. As the evening wound down, Olivia stepped out into the cool night air. The city shimmered under streetlights, the hum of life continuing around her. She checked her phone, another flood of messages. One, in particular, caught her eye. A young woman had sent her a direct message. "Ms. Bennett, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I just want to say thank you. I work at a company where I feel invisible every day. I watch less experienced people get promoted ahead of me, and sometimes I wonder if I should just give up. But then I read about you. I saw how you walked away and built something incredible. And now I know I don't have to wait for them to see me. I can see myself. Thank you for reminding me of that." Olivia exhaled slowly, staring at the message. This was why she did it. Not for revenge, not for validation, but for every woman who had ever felt like she was screaming into the void. She typed a quick reply. "Never stop believing in yourself. They don't define your worth, you do." She pressed send and smiled to herself before hailing a cab. As she settled into the back seat, she glanced out the window, watching the city blur past. The night felt endless, filled with possibilities she had once thought were beyond her reach. But there was still more to do. She wasn't done, not even close. Over the next few months, Olivia's company skyrocketed. She was invited to more conferences, more panels, more exclusive meetings where the real decisions were made. Investors who had once ignored her now wanted to fund her expansion. But Olivia was careful. She had learned that not all opportunities were good ones. She chose partners who aligned with her values, people who truly believed in what she was building, not just those looking for a profitable trend. One evening, she was in her office when she received an unexpected call. "Olivia." The voice on the other end was hesitant. It took her a second to recognize it. "Brian," she said, leaning back in her chair. "This is a surprise." He cleared his throat. "Yeah, I know. I wasn't sure if you'd even take my call." She didn't say anything, just let the silence stretch. "Listen," he finally continued. I wanted to say I was wrong. About everything. I see it now. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed to say it." Olivia raised an eyebrow. She hadn't expected this. Regret from Charles, sure. But Brian? He had been so confident, so assured of his position. And yet, here he was, his voice tinged with something she couldn't quite place. "Why now?" she asked. A sigh. "Because I left," he admitted. "I stayed at that company longer than I should have. But after you left, things changed. People started talking about you, about what happened. It made me look at myself. And I didn't like what I saw, so I quit. I've been trying to figure out what's next, but I don't know." Olivia listened, surprised at the lack of bitterness in her own heart. Maybe it was because she had already moved past it, or maybe it was because she had already won in the ways that truly mattered. "You were part of the problem, Brian," she said evenly. But I respect that you see it now. He let out a short laugh, humorless. Yeah. Too little, too late, right? She thought about that. Maybe, she said. But you still get to decide what kind of person you want to be moving forward. He was silent for a moment. Would you ever consider meeting? Just to talk? I'd love to hear how you built everything. I think I could learn a lot from you. Olivia hesitated, then surprised herself by saying, I'll check my schedule. She could hear the smile in his voice. Fair enough. After they hung up, Olivia sat back, staring at the ceiling. Life had a strange way of coming full circle. But this time, she wasn't the one looking for a seat at the table. She was building her own. And she wasn't done yet. One night, months later, she stood at the edge of a rooftop event in New York City, overlooking the skyline. This wasn't just another networking event. It was her event. She had launched a new initiative aimed at supporting young Black women in corporate spaces, providing mentorship, funding, and legal support to help them navigate the challenges she had faced alone. As she scanned the room, she saw the future, bright, bold, and unafraid. Young women standing together, lifting each other up instead of waiting for permission. And she knew, without a doubt, that this was only the beginning. Because Olivia Bennett wasn't just here to succeed. She was here to change the game.